Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cloudy Sheep and we are playing Afghanistan 11. We're currently in turn 9 out of 60 and we are trying to win the hearts and minds of the Afghan people. Now, for that purpose, we are trying to visit these villages and generally clear out mines and IEDs and win against the Taliban. We will be shifting our strategy slightly. We've so far done a couple of bombing missions. We can have a look at the world map here and see what intelligence we had already. So far we have defeated really 3 enemy units, 2 straight up Taliban units and some militias in a number of engagements. You can see our total engagement aren't that high actually. We did have a nice little firefight here. You can see here where we spotted militia so far and where we spotted Taliban units. So actually, as you can see by the discrepancy here, you can see that most of our kills actually have been by air power, so by F-16 strikes. And the costs of these, I think, are going up by turns. So we aren't going to rely on that heavily for 2 reasons. A, we want to be a bit more savvy on our political power here, which acts as money in the game, so we don't want to spend that quite as quickly. It was actually very useful to defeat these units early on because they generated a lot of trouble if you let them on the one hand, and on the other hand killing them generates more political power as the people at home see that the war is going well. And on the other hand, we have been training some additional Afghan infantry, so Afghan National Army infantry, and these guys are being more capable. They can take up more of our sort of routine here, visiting these villages, which frees up the US infantry to maybe do some of the fighting as well. Although in the long term, one of our missions is to hand over the progress to the Afghan people as well. So that means that here on the personnel tab you can see that we have a target ratio of Afghanistan National Army personnel here in regards to the total combat units. That is currently very low from turn 10 on, but in further turns that will be coming much higher, and around about turn 50 we will see that all US forces are actually removed from the map, or at least all combat forces, all helicopters, all infantry and so on, only supply trucks and that sort of thing will remain and be handed over to the Afghan National Army. And one of the critical points that we should be thinking about until then is how do we spot enemies. Right now you can see that the spotting range of most units, here you have a little infantry unit or rather vehicle unit, the spotting range is just 1 tile. So that doesn't really cover a lot. That leaves a lot of territory uncovered. And the only reason, or the only way how you can extend that to a further range is by having these guys, special forces. And you cannot actually train Afghan National Army special forces. The only way you can do that is by training normal infantry and then having them win firefights and just leveling up gradually and then become special forces at some point. So to make that happen we should at least at some point start to have Afghan National Army units in the firefights as well. But without further ado, let's have a small little look at where we stand. We do have our area here where we're trying to serve these 4 villages. Here, by the way of this base, this forward operating base where we send out units. We have our headquarters here, and we're trying to shuttle around units to visit these villages down there and up here. This guy is just currently coming back. As I said earlier, we did just more or less win a firefight here. So ideally we do know that there must be some Taliban units round about here. We just won once and these guys have 2 hit points. We can't really move out of special forces right now because they are training one more helicopter, and we ideally want them to continue to do that because right now, as you can see in political liaison, the current president of Afghanistan is boosting the training time of Afghan National Army units. And actually, that is very helpful, and the some things on the other hand are not, but at least we can try to train as much as we can right now. As I said earlier, we just reached the cap here, so we'll not be able to train much more units here, but we will be able to train a couple of more units here. There's some progress, we don't want to lose that. So one thing we could maybe think about is using a drone reconnaissance here, and just see if we can find any traces of these units around over here. So let's do that.
Eyes on Taliban.
And there you can see, they're right here. Let's take our helicopter. It does have an infantry in there, and let's just drop off this infantry unit right about. I'm trying to keep a distance of 2 tiles from this unit with the helicopter itself, so this should be fine.
Affirmative.
Dropping there, and let's pick our infantry here and just attack into these mountains.
Affirmative. Target eliminated. New intel received. Be advised, Taliban in the area.
So that's very nice. On the one hand, we gain some political power by defeating this unit, and on the other hand, we gain some more intelligence on some more Taliban that are over here. We do know that overall there's just this 1 Taliban unit and 4 militia units in the overall area. So let's see if we can't do something about these guys. Let's pick up our infantry here.
Copy that.
Again, and see whether we can drop it off anywhere that is somewhat useful. So, as you can see, you can't drop off normal infantry in the mountains. You can only do that in sort of plains. Special forces can rappel down, but these guys can't. So we're trying to get as close as possible, which I think will be here.
Copy that.
And these guys.
Copy solid.
Let's try this. Let's go into ambush and yeah, actually defeat these guys. That's very nice. Gains even some more points. These guys don't have any more points remaining. The helicopter doesn't have any movement points either. So that was a nice little success here. These guys should have leveled up quite a bit. You can actually see it here, the rank symbol. Here we can visit this little village down here because you can see the fires are burning. So let's pick up the intel that we can.
Copy that. Village uncooperative.
We do have an Afghan National Army unit here, so these guys are a bit more likely to
Copy that.
be successful in trying to gather some intelligence, but
Copy
yeah,
that.
unfortunately they were not. Try to drive home. We can't quite make it all the way, so let's see what we got here. We got another Afghan National Army vehicle. So actually this is an AMRAP,
Roger.
not an Afghan unit. This one is. Let's move it out. Let's pick up these guys.
Roger.
And let's drop them off right over here.
Copy solid. New intel received. Be advised, militia in the area.
Okay, so very useful. More information. This is a bit unlucky. I didn't quite spot these guys overall. They just could have walked over there. But that's fair enough. Let's see what we have and whether we can bring anything down there to work up against these guys. We do have the Chinook over here, which doesn't really have a job right now. And we of course have this infantry unit. There's one more infantry unit here. The supply truck could move out, but to be honest I prefer not to, because it's very, very squishy. This guy is an engineering unit and he won't be able to do anything about that either right now. So indeed, let's pick up the Chinook and let's start to get moving down there. Pick up these guys. Why not? We need to start to train up these Afghans, as I said.
that.
and start to move down here.
Affirmative.
You can actually pick up these guys
Copy
again
that.
and see. Nah, we can't really move back. That's unfortunate. That's just the way it is. This guy is slowly but surely running out of fuel. So let's pick up our supply guys here.
Copy
Move
solid.
back to the headquarters and pick up some fuel and then bring it back to Bedford operating this. That's fine. Add 3 more units. I think one of this is this Husky over here, which is a very
Copy
good
solid.
mine clearing unit, as you can just see there.
Moving out.
Can spot and defuse mines,
Moving out.
but it won't get all the way to this. That's fair enough as well. 2 more units, and this US infantry right now doesn't really have a job, so it's just going to skip its turn. Now, this Buffalo, I think we could decide to build up a new waterworks here. It's nearly 2,000 points, but it does generate more money in the future. So one thing, let's actually do that. Let's start and build up
Copy that.
a waterworks over here. I think we could leave, keep on operating that from over there, and then just make sure it's safe and all that. But we need to start to invest some money into the future income.
New ANA unit deployed. Be advised. Militia in the area. Taliban spotted.
That was very unfortunate. So the Taliban unit that we won against here just attacked our helicopter, which took some damage and actually cost us some political points and
Solid.
decreased the hearts and minds of the Afghan people around here. So yeah, not very good. It must have withdrawn somewhat to that direction. I'm reluctant to use the helicopter to pick up on these guys, but
Copy that.
let's see. I think that was unsuccessful. Didn't quite catch these guys, but they must have run away anyway. Can we pick up our infantry? We could. They do have rations remaining, however, so I'm just going to leave them in the field for now. Withdraw this guy so you can repair and all that actually. So leave that guy there. See if we can't get to this place down there. We can't right now.
Roger.
That's fine.
We're Oscar Mike. Affirmative.
And we will need to run back down at some point. And we need to start thinking about the fuel here. There's only 1 point of fuel remaining, so I think we can only actually get up till there right now. So that's a bit unfortunate. What's going on here? We have militia infantry in that village, so obviously that's not very good.
Copy that.
And we do have a chance of 50% to kill these guys.
Moving out. Target eliminated. Village uncooperative.
The village allegiance has changed here, as you can see. Normally there's a little Afghan flag here, and now these guys have a US flag, meaning that this village is really, really favorable to us right now, which is of course very, very nice. Let's pick up this Iraqi infantry here and see if we can't find some more intel by going all the way over here.
Copy solid.
Usually there are no IDs on this road. There are none. Out of movement, however, so we won't be able to make it this turn. This guy really needs to rest, so that's what we're going to do. Just wait here. You two will need to wait. And now, we do remember that there was some militia down here, and our idea here was to go down there and see if we can't grab these guys. However, I'm a bit reluctant with the Husky here. As I said, the fuel is starting to run low, and there are only limited ways in which you can get fuel to them. And actually our best bet right now would be this guy. However, let's first have a brief look at the situation here at the FOB. It does have some supplies, but it doesn't have a vehicle yard right now. So let's actually
Copy that.
get you to do that. Running low on points. That's fine. We should start to secure some income. You can see that in the logistics tab. We can see from infrastructure we are earning about 400 points. That is for this waterworks alone. Now we'll be earning a little bit more, which is good, of course, and that will balance out expenditures in the future a bit more nicely. But I think for now that's probably it in terms of political PowerPoints. The supply truck here will probably need to actually grab some fuel and start to move out.
Copy that.
Where are the Chinook? I'm not sure what to do with the Chinook. We also should have another Afghan National Army infantry in here right now. And these special forces now can move out because they don't actually have anyone to train anymore. So I think we need some more material, especially some transporting material. The Mi-8 will be really handy, but we could actually think about buying some reinforcements. Although we don't have the points to afford much, maybe a supply truck, maybe an MRAP. An MRAP actually could be very helpful, but maybe right now we're not going to do that because we know these guys here can only be served by a helicopter. There's no road access at all. These guys can be served by a vehicle, but we have some. These guys, in theory, can be served by a vehicle, but you can see that the supply road is really long. So it's somewhat difficult to keep them up running up there, unless we build a forward operating base maybe here or so. But I'm somewhat reluctant to do that because then on the other hand you need to supply that. So that's not that great either. Big question, Chinook. So let's think about that. Let's actually first move this guy back because we need
Moving out.
Actually, we would not have needed to if we had supply. If we are deciding to supply anyway. And to do that and to be able to supply them next round, I think we actually do need to turn back right now. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I'm going to drop off this infantry. I'm not going to drop off that infantry because, on the other hand,
Copy that.
we do want some Afghan infantry here as well to serve these guys. So we're actually going to transport over one of these Afghan guys here because we do have one in this base and one over there. So we're actually pretty well served on that side of things. Now this guy has some action points remaining, and we could just skip his turn, but we're actually going to load up the fuel already. Going to take one turn, but we'll be much better prepared to move out next turn. The Afghan army here, on the other hand, is just going to have to wait. These special forces, I think, on the other hand, could start to move up down here. They don't have transport. They can actually move somewhat decently. On the other hand, the Afghan National Army is... Let's see, briefly see. These guys have some rations remaining, and there's really nothing in here keeping us, so we are going to start to move out and see if we can't help there. This guy, on the other hand, is going to wait, and just going to wait.
Kilo repaired. A&A unit deployed.
More A&A units, also very good. Intelligence is telling us about some opium crops now, which is really bad. I'm going to start to talk about that in a second. And some militia and Taliban cadres. Let's see if we can't spot Taliban
We're
here.
Oscar Mike.
Too bad. Nothing to see. Let's pick up these guys.
Roger.
Drop them off. Let's drop them off here. So don't want the vehicle to move all the way over there.
We're Oscar Mike. Village uncooperative.
Intel. Pick up again.
Copy that. Copy solid.
That was very inefficient. But that's the way it is sometimes. Special forces can move up again.
Copy that. Militia spotted.
Okay.
We're Oscar Mike.
Let's see if we can't pin them in. The MRAP here is still unfueled, and let's actually fulfill our plan. Let's take the Chinook. Let's refuel this
Copy
guy.
solid. We could now try to go all the way over here, but I think it's going to be a fine idea just to make our way back. Moving out.
Because this guy is starting to feel a bit isolated here, and there might be ambushes starting on that road, so I don't want to really do that. Let's pick up the Afghan National Army infantry here. Let's think about taking whether we want to take the MI8, this Afghan unit here, or the Black Hawk. MI8 is a bit slower, and I think what we want to do is visit these villages, which we can actually do quite nicely with this unit. So go ahead, start moving out.
Roger. Village uncooperative.
Again, using this helicopter is a bit of a measure to
We're Oscar Mike.
to transfer the responsibility to the Afghans. I actually had hoped that this would maybe reveal the location of the Taliban unit, which must be somewhere around, but which we can't see right now exactly. Again, you can see our training efforts, and I think it might be time to think about a howitzer, or do we want another helicopter? And I think a helicopter is going to be a fine idea just to move things around a bit more quickly. So more helicopters, always a good idea. On the other hand, this Buffalo here. We could think about the maintenance yard extension over here. This guy can have one extension, and that would allow our vehicles here to be served a bit more efficiently. For now, I think that's fine. Just wait there. Take the AMRAP that we do have. These guys moved already. Yes, forgot. The Black Hawk. Do we want to pick these guys up? Maybe we want to pick these guys up.
We're Oscar Mike.
Can you actually
Roger.
drop these guys off? You pick them up.
Copy that.
You roll them off.
Copy solid. Village uncooperative.
Ooh. That's not very good. I think this means that we actually dropped the loyalty, or the loyalty of this village has dropped. That's not because of our visit, but rather because we only found out now. And that means bad stuff has been happening. And I think in particular, these guys were probably visited by Taliban or Afghan or militia units. So not a good development down there. Here I think things are looking a bit more up. We know that originally we started at 50 on the hearts and minds meter, so we are moving in the right direction. There's certainly nothing to do here right now. Both of these water wings are fine. I don't want to build a third one. Maintenance yard extension we could do, and I think next time we move out here, it would make sense to build up this road a bit more, get a bit more sensible layout there. But right now, just chill. What else have we got? The Chinook could. Yeah, I think it's just going to start.
We're Oscar Mike.
The special forces can actually still move. So what we're going to do here is move up here to that unit, and you can see special forces aren't that great at fighting, even though the militia isn't really good at either. The special forces can't really do with it, but they could engage from range with this little sniper symbol here, which is even less likely to succeed, but they doesn't risk themselves. However, we are going to take this Warthog
inbound,
which is very similar to the bombing strike, except you can do it without, it doesn't cost political points, but you just need to be pretty close with the special forces units. AMRAP, I think we are going to move the AMRAP out. Do we want to take anyone with us? Do we have an Afghan National Army unit in here? No, we don't. And these guys are unfortunately on the slope of the mountain. So I don't think we'll move it out this turn. Actually, we are going to move it out, sorry.
Moving out.
Just so we can refuel it.
Roger.
And start to move this back to base.
Copy that.
And with that, this guy's fully refueled. And he can just move
We're Oscar Mike.
For some political power points, but not too many. Let's
searching for IDs.
Didn't think so. And enter. This is a big aspect of the game, which is a bit different from the previous Vietnam game as well. It's national elections, and there you have the choice. You know, this guy is our current president of Afghanistan. He has some effects, as we talked about earlier. This brings down the Afghan National Army training time, which was very helpful. But we are starting to develop some forces there, so maybe that's not quite as urgent. This guy, on the other hand, is only having bad effects. Intelligence is much more slowly together, corruption, so a lot of political power points that this would cost us per turn. Infrastructure is going to go up, so a lot more movement points, a lot more points to move. This guy had less, and training time would be massively up. So let's look at this guy here and see if he's any improvement. The training time would be up, and so would be infrastructure cost, but on the other hand the corruption and Taliban missions would be down, so we would have about 500 more political power points per turn, and less Taliban missions. And you know what? I think the infrastructure costs, the corruption is so much better, that the infrastructure costs don't matter quite as much, and the fundamentalism reduction is really good as well. The defense policy, of course, is not nice, but it's not that critical either. So this guy, we'll try to go with this guy for the next turn, just to diversify our strategies a bit. We are going to invest some political power into this election, because I really don't want this guy to win. That would be really horrifically bad. But it's quite expensive. But with this, I think it's time to call this episode to close. Did some on turns, we are now at turn 10, so we can actually take stock here for a second. We have achieved our current target ratio by quite a bit. Actually, 50% of our forces are already Afghans, so that's very good, but you can already see that the target is accelerating. So we only have 5 more turns to get 5 more additional percentage points, but we are way on our way there, so all very good. In terms of intelligence, there are some Talibans, there are quite some militias going around, and there are some opium crops. Opium crops I kind of suspect might be here. They're generally at the base of the mountains, and we did spot a militia earlier there. One of their missions is to do that, and that would not be altogether too great, because every 3 turns, I think, the opium fields are up. They will spawn another, they will effectively be taxed by the Taliban, and that will allow the Taliban to spend additional units. So, sort of a vicious cycle there. We'll need to start looking for this opium field and clear it. If it's here, maybe it's somewhere else entirely. You can also see that this waterworks here has broken down, so we'll need to fix that unless we want this village here to massively start bleeding support, which would also be very bad. Now, the thing with the elections that are currently going on is that the elections will be in 5 turns, and we invested some political power into the elections, so that's already very good. But the other thing is that the movement of hearts and minds over the next 5 turns is actually very important for the outcome of the election. So the better we do in the next 5 turns, the better for the election in particular. And the other thing is, right now there will probably be some sort of Taliban offensive going on to influence the election. That can be a couple of things. It can be more Taliban units themselves, which would start to pour in probably from around here, from this eastern edge, where the border with Pakistan is. It could be more IEDs, or a combination of these things. So we will need to be a bit more careful, but on the other hand also be a bit more aggressive, and that is one of the reasons as well why we try to cool down a bit here on the F-16 airstrikes. We could also think about just dropping some supplies on these villages, just to make sure that they are a bit more aligned, and maybe we'll do that just before the election, but until then we'll have to see. So, with all this in mind, I think I'm going to call it to a close for today, and I'll see you guys next time.